I was standing with an empty plate in my hands when my own daughter told me I didn't deserve to eat. Her eyes were cold, her voice steady. "Dad, you didn't contribute this week. Don't make it awkward." My grandson Owen froze with a roll halfway to his mouth. She snapped at him to sit down. The room went quiet except for the clink of forks. The turkey steamed. The mashed potatoes were being passed around me like I was invisible. "My name is Mark Delaney. I'm a retired fleet mechanic, 40 years of busted knuckles and honest work. After my wife, Nora, passed last year, I moved in with my daughter, Alyssa, and her husband, Derek, in Ridgeview, Colorado. They told me it was my home too." That was the line. "Since moving in, I have paid $700 every month toward what they call utilities. I fix things for free. I keep their Ford Explorer running. I patched the roof after a windstorm and replaced the belt on the LG washer. I cover little gaps when their money is tight. But on Thanksgiving night, they treated me like a freeloader." Derek leaned back in his chair and smirked. "Grown men pay their way." I said nothing. I felt heat in my ears, but my hands stopped shaking. I set my empty plate on the buffet. It made a tiny, sharp sound. They thought I would argue. I didn't. I walked out and climbed the stairs to the small room where I keep Nora's old desk. I knew every dollar I had spent, every repair I had done, every bill I had quietly covered, had left a trail. A trail I could follow. And when we met at that table again, it would not be me with an empty plate. I grew up believing that a man's word matters more than his comfort. My dad worked graveyard shifts at a factory in Oklahoma City. He would come home, scrub the grease from his hands, and say, "If you're going to do a job, you do it right. Anything less is a lie." That idea settled deep in me. I became a mechanic because, unlike people, engines don't lie. If a part is broken, it shows itself. If you fix it right, it runs. It was a world that made sense. I met Nora at a county fair. She had a laugh that made strangers smile. We were married for 37 years. When cancer took her, it carved out more than a chair at the table. It carved out my sense of direction. Alyssa insisted I move in. "Dad, you'll be safe with us," she said. Derek nodded. "We've got space. We want you here." I wanted to believe them. I did not come empty-handed. I brought a small pension, the savings I had, and my hands. I also brought Nora's desk, the kind with a hidden cigar box drawer. At first, living with them felt like a second chance. I cooked on Sundays. I drove Owen to soccer. I paid $700 every month toward the bills. When Derek's commission checks got delayed, I covered Owen's speech therapy co-pays. When Alyssa said the Ecobee thermostat had to be locked at 66 degrees to save money, I kept a sweater on and stayed quiet. I wanted peace. The week before Thanksgiving, I went to Mountain Market and bought pies, cream cheese, and a basket of extras for dessert. The receipt was $163.89. I slipped it into my pocket and forgot about it. That night at the table, when Alyssa said I didn't contribute, it wasn't just a lie. It felt like the floor opening under my feet. But I didn't fall. I remembered the desk. I remembered the drawer. I remembered every promise I had kept, and the ones they had broken. The morning after Thanksgiving, I made coffee and opened my laptop. I logged into my credit union. My pension gets deposited on the 1st of each month. I noticed something odd. The automatic transfer I had set up for Alyssa, the $700 that went into her account for utilities, was being swept out within the same hour. Not to utilities. Not to gas or electric. The line item said household. It had always said that, but I never looked close. This time I did. I scrolled. I saw my name on a joint account I did not remember agreeing to. I saw my pension linked to it. There was a shaky digital signature on a helper access form that looked like mine if my hand had been numb. I remembered when Alyssa slid that form across the island to make it easier if you get sick. I had told her no, but I had a bad feeling and snapped a photo of the blank form before I handed it back. Now I knew she must have forged it, probably by tracing my signature from the HOA papers. I checked the mail basket by the front door. Letters were buried under flyers. There were HOA notices with my name on them as owner of record. I had agreed to co-sign a while back, when Derek said it would help them get a better rate. I thought I had signed a reference. What I signed tied me to fines and fees I did not know existed. My heart sank when I opened a statement from a store called Techmart. It was a credit card in my name with a balance of $3,176.42. The last charge was for a gaming laptop. I do not game. Derek does. He streams late at night. I have heard the sound through the wall. I stared at the numbers and felt my jaw set. They had not just insulted me. They had started to use me. I sat on the edge of my bed, the screen's cold light on my hands. My first thought was shame that I had been asleep at the wheel of my own life. My second was a question I had not asked since Nora died. Who am I without someone to protect? I looked at the photo of Nora on the nightstand. She was laughing in that fair photo, no idea of the storms ahead. I whispered, "I miss you." I thought about confronting Alyssa right then, but the memory of her face at the table stopped me. That wasn't stress. That was calculated. I don't operate by yelling. Yelling doesn't fix anything. I needed to see the whole picture clearly. I needed proof. I opened the Yuffie Home app on my phone. Alyssa had installed cameras, for security, when Derek said packages were being stolen. There was a camera in the dining room and one by the front door. I scrolled the cloud history. On Thanksgiving night, after I went upstairs, there was a clip. I pressed play. Alyssa's voice. "He is in the way, Derek. Once his Medicare supplement kicks in, we move him out. That boarding house off Brookside is cheap. 4 to a room, $450 a month. We can say it's temporary." Derek chuckled. "And we route his checks until he settles." I watched that clip twice. The anger I felt did not roar. It hummed. It hummed like a well-tuned engine ready to rev. I had promised Nora I would keep my dignity. I had promised myself I would not become bitter. I breathed in and out. A wounded animal fights with noise and pain. I would fight like a mechanic, careful, patient, and exact. I called one person. Not Alyssa. Not Derek. I called my old union buddy, Wayne. He works compliance at a regional bank now. I said, "Wayne, hypothetically, if someone linked a pension to a joint account without clear consent, what would you call that?" He did not joke. He said, "Mark, that is elder financial exploitation. Document everything. Do not tip your hand." Banks are required to file reports when they see this. So I did. I printed statements. I saved Yuffie clips. I pulled up the photo of the helper access form and dated it. I collected HOA letters. I slid it all into a manila envelope and tucked it in Nora's desk. I made a second copy of the files on a small USB drive. I put that in the hidden drawer with the cigar box latch. Next day, Alyssa knocked on my door. She wore a soft smile that used to melt me when she was 6. "Dad, Owen misses you. Also, could you spot us for groceries this week until Derek's check clears?" I looked at her gently and said, "I will think on it." When she left, I went to the credit union. The branch manager listened, serious eyes, steady breath. I slid the envelope across the desk and said, "I would like to freeze any account with my name on it, pending review." She nodded. "She made copies," she said. "We will file the necessary reports." My small victory was not fireworks. It was a quiet click of locks turning into place. I walked out lighter. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I felt the ground under my feet. I could still be kind to Owen. I could still be me. But I was done being the safety net that kept them from feeling the consequences of their own actions. The first cracks appeared by midweek. Derek stopped strutting. He took calls on the back porch, voice low, angry. Alyssa moved around the kitchen in tight circles, whispering. On the counter, I saw an envelope with bold letters. Insufficient funds, autopay failed. I did not touch it. I poured my coffee and looked out the window at the frost shining on the fence. That night, Netflix would not load. Owen cried. Alyssa pounded on my door. Dad, what happened to the internet? I opened the door a few inches and said calmly, You told me whoever does not contribute does not eat. I do not live here in the way you think I do. I will not contribute to a system that hurts me. I closed the door. My hands did not shake. 2 days later, Greenwood police showed up. The TechMart fraud department had flagged the gaming laptop charge. The officers wanted a statement. Derek tried to talk over them. It was a misunderstanding. Mark said we could use it. I sat at the table with my coffee and let the officers see my printed statements and the card agreement. I did not accuse. I did not raise my voice. I said, I did not authorize that purchase. Sunday at Harvest Chapel, Alyssa stood up during the prayer time with tears in her eyes. Please pray for our family. We are in crisis because my father has abandoned us. I sat, feeling the heat rise, but I stayed in my pew. I waited. After the service, Alyssa was by the door, accepting hugs from concerned friends. I walked straight up to her, with several people from our small group, faces I had fixed lawnmowers for, standing right there. My voice was low, but clear. Alyssa, I said, you told them I abandoned you. Did you also tell them you forged my name on bank forms? She froze. The people around us went silent. Did you tell them, I continued, about the $3,100 gaming laptop you bought on a credit card you opened in my name? Or about your plan to put me in the Brookside boarding house? I didn't need to show the envelope. The specifics were enough. The faces of our neighbors turned from sympathy for her to shock. Alyssa had no answer. The fall was not mine. It was theirs. After church, I sat alone at the kitchen table. The house was still. I looked at the chair where Nora used to sort coupons. I thought about the line between love and enabling. It is a thin line, almost invisible when you want to keep the peace. I had crossed it without seeing. I took out a yellow pad and made 2 columns. In one, I wrote every payment I had made since I moved in. In the other, every kindness Alyssa and Derek had shown me. The second column was not empty. They did invite me. They did give me space after Nora died. They did let me tuck Owen in at night. But the first column was longer, and it had something the second did not: consent. I had said yes to my payments and repairs. They had not asked me. They had expected me. Worse, they had started to plan my exit. I decided I would not be cruel. I would be clear. I called the credit union again and asked for fraud alerts on my profile. I changed passwords and set up 2-factor authentication for my email, my pension portal, and my bank. I called Wayne and asked him what to expect next. He said, "There will be friction. Keep your documentation safe." I taped a copy of the Yuffie clip transcript underneath the desk drawer. I made a note of the location of the USB drive. Then I put on my jacket and went for a long walk in the cold. The wind off the ridge stung my face. With every step, I felt a little more like the man I had been. Not bitter. Not broken. Just awake. The next week, the dominoes fell faster. The bank froze the questionable joint account pending investigation. The autopay to the mortgage bounced again. The HOE president, Miguel, a former paramedic with a kind heart, stopped me near the mailboxes. "Mark, I want you to know the board has seen the paperwork. We will not come after you on their fines." It was a relief. For the first time in weeks, I felt understood without needing to offer a single word of defense. Inside the house, the mood turned brittle. Derek slammed cabinets. Alyssa, meanwhile, tried to gather sympathy. I'd see her talking to other moms at the bus stop, her voice full of tears, talking about how hard things were. But neighbors noticed more than just her side. People always see the tension, even if they don't say anything. A woman from 2 doors down, Patricia, left a casserole on my step. The note said, "You are not alone." That night, Derek stormed up the driveway and got in my face. "You think you can ruin us? You are nothing without us." I did not stand. I stayed seated on the porch swing and looked up at him. "Careful," I said, nodding toward Patricia, who was already on her porch with her phone raised. He spat on the ground and backed away. I turned off the one card still paying their streaming subscriptions. I canceled the last family plan on my cell account and ported my number to a locked prepaid. I told Alyssa, "This is not punishment. This is a boundary." She called me heartless. I said, "Heartless would be letting you continue to hurt me." For the first time since Nora died, I slept through the night. Not because life was easy, but because my choices were clean. In the morning, I made pancakes for Owen before school and told him a silly story about a grumpy raccoon who learned to say please. He laughed. It sounded like hope. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the credit union manager. They had filed the required reports. The fraud department had confirmed irregular access and forged consent. The TechMart case moved forward. Greenwood Police asked me to come in to finalize my statement. I brought the manila envelope and the USB drive. I answered their questions. The investigator thanked me and said, "You did everything right by documenting." By the end of the month, the joint account was formally closed. The mortgage company, now missing several autopays, sent a notice of default. A public posting went up on the county clerk's board. Word spread along the cul-de-sac faster than any memo. People saw the truth without me raising my voice. Derek's application for a real estate license stalled. The state board flagged the pending identity theft charge. TechMart pressed for restitution. His late-night streams stopped. He stopped staying out. He started sleeping on the couch. The house got quieter, not peaceful, just dull and tired, like a car with a misfire on 3 cylinders. And then came the letter from the bank attorney addressed to me. My name was officially removed from owner of record liability on the HOA items due to documented fraud. I sat at Nora's desk and read it twice. Not triumph. Relief. The revenge I wanted was never about burning their lives down. It was about taking the matches back from people who had started lighting fuses under my feet. Justice did not come as a shout. It came as signed forms and closed accounts, and quiet nods from neighbors who had seen enough. By summer, a foreclosure notice went up with their names on it. Not mine. The public paper did more than any speech I could have made. Boxes appeared. A rented truck arrived. Alyssa avoided my eyes as she packed. Owen hugged me tight and whispered, "I love you, Grandpa." I hugged him back and said, "That will never change." They moved to a small 2-bedroom across town. I heard, through Miguel, that Alyssa was volunteering at a thrift store and trying to rebuild. Derek took a job that did not need a license. Later, I saw a court summary that said he agreed to probation and restitution on the identity theft charge. I did not gloat. I went to the VFW hall and booked the room for November. On Thanksgiving, I hosted. I used Nora's heirloom plate as the centerpiece and placed a small card that read, "For anyone ever told they did not contribute." Veterans came. Widows came. A neighbor who had no one came. We shared turkey, stuffing, and stories. Laughter rose and stayed. I did not feel like a burden. I felt like a person again. A week later, I found an envelope in the mail with Alyssa's handwriting. Inside was a letter. She admitted the forged consent, the plan to move me to Brookside, the siphoned transfers. She wrote that Derek had turned on her the same way she had turned on me, that the shame of the foreclosure had stripped away the story she told herself. She said she was sorry. She did not ask for money. She asked if there could be a path back. I set the letter beside Nora's plate and looked at the afternoon light on the ridgeline. A path back. I thought of Owen, and how much I missed hearing his laugh. I knew I couldn't go back to the silence and the hurt. But maybe, slowly, we could build something new. Something honest. I am not a perfect man. I am a man who kept promises, even when it hurt. The moral for me is simple: love does not mean silence, and peace without respect is a slow kind of harm. Boundaries are not revenge. They are the only way trust can ever grow again. If you are listening to this and someone you love treats you like you are in the way, remember this: you are not a burden for needing dignity. You are a person. And you always deserve a plate at the table. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.